The Chicago Cubs with their worst series loss of the season, and now they have a closer problem. We talk about it all next.
You are Locked On Cubs, your daily Chicago Cubs podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
You are Locked On Cubs, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. I'm Sam Olber. I'm a lifelong fan, taking my passion into a discussion with you. Double thumbs down with that series loss on all things Cubs. This episode is brought to you by Monarch Money. Take control of your finances with Monarch Money. Use code LOCKEDONMLB at monarchmoney.com for 50% off your first year. A packed show today. I'm solo today, as you could see if you're on YouTube, a packed show. We talk about rest versus urgency. We talk about how important is home field advantage in the wild card series really that important for the Cubs. We have Tucker injury updates, PCA, now Palencia, some Derek Lee and Sammy Sosa talk. But we start with the worst series loss of the year. I mean, it's just a fact. I mean, the Nationals are 53-86 or whatever their record is. I mean, they're 58-84. Cubs lose 2 of 3. They won the opener. Felt like it was going to be a fun weekend at Wrigley. Wind was blowing out Friday. Cubs put up 11 runs, hit a bunch of home runs. It was all set up. Matthew Boyd on Saturday actually pitched really well, I thought. He had a really rocky start. Pitched well, recovered, went 7 strong, but the Cubs, I thought just, and I know it sounds like I'm catastrophizing and exaggerating like I always do, but I mean, considering the opponent, considering the fact that it was at home, considering the time of year, this was the easiest series you had left on paper remaining. 1 run. It was an atrocious offensive performance on Saturday. Nothing more than that. And then Sunday just feels like, all right, we got to get this game, by any means. Wind was blowing in. Wasn't a great day to hit. And you get 2 homers from Carson Kelly. That insurance one in the 8th. He felt really good. And then Daniel Palencia comes in the 9th inning. And it was just, nothing short of a complete disaster. Did not get an out. Gave up 5 earned runs. And then left the game injured, which we'll get to in the second segment. I think the right thing to do here, we've talked so much about the offense that it's become redundant. You guys that are listening at home or listening in the car or wherever you listen to, at this point, you could do that portion of the show. The offense had a really, really good day Friday, followed it up with 2 not really good days. They were 4 for 32 with runners on base Saturday and Sunday. We could just go into it, or I believe 4 of their last 32 is the right way to put it. We could go through it over and over and over again. So I'm not ignoring that. So I know there's going to be a lot of comments. Well, the offense. I'm not ignoring that, but we've already discussed that at length, that I think the right thing to do here is talk about Palencia in this closer situation, because he had been trending not in a great place for a little while now. It wasn't a full-on disaster. Like, he didn't have a horrible outing, but his ERA in the month of August was over 5.23, which is high. And then he came into September. He looked okay his first couple outings, and then this just completely unraveled. And it's a real problem because the Cubs, you want the Cubs to play at Wrigley, in my opinion, which I'll get to later, in the wild card situation, because it's just they're 44-27 at home, and they're pretty good in these 3-2, 4-3, 2-1 situations. But the reason why they've been pretty good is because, you take for granted until you don't have it anymore. Thielbar, Keller, Palencia, throw in Kittredge. And now with Palencia really starting to struggle, I think you have a real problem. And I think whether he comes back from this injury soon or he goes on the IL, I do think it's time to adjust the 9th inning. The thing with Palencia is I'm not sure just moving him from the 9th to the 8th is a huge difference. I just think for me, and this is totally anecdotal, I don't have any numbers to support this, but this is how I observe it. It just seems like with him, when something happens, like a hit or an infield hit or a homer, it just unravels. When there's men on base and things like that, it just starts to unravel, and that's just not a closer quality. You want your closer to get stronger in the higher adversity moments, and I just I just feel like that. I mean, when I was at the Brewers game a couple of weeks ago, he should have blown that save. He should have. He got a break, line drive right at Nico. He's had some other ones recently where he hasn't pitched well, and then it just all came apart today. It started out with he's ahead 1-2, and he just missed his spot by at least 8 to 10 inches. He was looking to throw his high fastball, and it was 101, but it was low, and it was a homer to left center field. Then when I felt like the game was going to be not saved is then he executes really well to Abrams. He gives up an infield hit. And then it just unraveled. Then you got the walk, 3-run homer, triple, injury. And I just think I don't want to go into the postseason with him getting the 9th inning. I just don't feel comfortable. And I know hindsight's 2020. I haven't said it. I think we've hinted at it on the show, but I've felt like this. If you want to be a glass half full person, you could say, well, I do feel this way. Like, I'm glad this happened now. I mean, look at Devin Williams with the Brewers last year, because it can cost you a season, right? 1-1 in a postseason series, best of 3, you're up 3-1, you feel great, and then it just unravels. I trust Kittredge more in a big spot. I trust Palencia more, and if there's lefties, I trust Thielbar more. That's just how I feel, and it's, I don't mean to be disrespectful to Palencia, because without him, the Cubs wouldn't be where they're at. He's been amazing. But how many times have we talked about on this show how volatile the relievers are? I mean, it was Ryan Presley and Porter Hodge to start the year. Presley's no longer on the team. Porter Hodge spent tons of time in the minor leagues, and now all of a sudden Porter Hodge looks like maybe he's earned some high leverage situations. He's been better lately. Look at Alzolay, right? Look at all these guys. It just goes up and down so fast unless you have a true elite guy. And the Cubs, what the Cubs have to do, what Jed has to do, what Counsell has to do, is just get out in front of it and go, you know what? I don't like the signs here. And just because he's been really, really good for a long time doesn't mean he's going to be really, really good going forward. It's very hard to project. It's a very fragile, fickle situation. But I think today proved that it's at least time for Palencia to get some days off and figure out what you want to do with the 9th inning. Because with the way the Cubs are hitting offensively, there's no margin for error, as Matt always says. There's no margin for error. You can't be now having reliever problems. Keller's been great. Thielbar's been great. Kittredge's been pretty good. But, it was a real problem. And I think it was more than just one bad outing. It felt like it had been coming. So that's that. Other storylines or takeaways from the series. Obviously, not enough offense. I thought Happ hit the ball pretty well, especially Friday and Sunday. He had a bad game on Saturday, just really hit into some tough luck. Swanson had a good day Friday. It's just Seiya right now. If Tucker and P can get healthy, I really think Seiya needs a couple of days. It seemed like it worked really well for Pete. It seemed like it's worked really well for Tucker. I just get him 3 or 4 days. There was footage of him taking swings, dry swings at an empty ballpark yesterday. Like, he's clearly feeling it. He's clearly trying. He's hitting the ball hard, right? He's not elevating the ball. He's just not slugging. I mean, he's not, hitting any home runs. He's not driving in any runs since that big day that he had against Boston coming out of the break. He has 9 RBIs total in what is that? I mean, almost 2 months. I mean, it's not good enough from Seiya right now, and the Cubs really need him to be, at his best going into the playoffs, just like they need Pete, just like they need Tucker, just like they need Bush. And I just think, we're getting close to just give him 2-3 days. Why not? It worked for the other guys, because it does feel like there is a mechanical component to this. He's just hitting everything into the ground. He's not getting any launch angle. He's not elevating it. His last home run, which came against the Reds a long time ago, even that was a line drive. He needs to hit the ball hard in the air. It's not just him. I mean, Bush did not have a good series. There's a long list of struggles. Obviously, lineup isn't going to look great with no Pete, no Tucker. Alcantara's getting time. But just, I'd like to see Seiya get some rest soon here if he doesn't turn it around early in Atlanta. A other highlight, just to sprinkle in a positive, I'm not sure I've seen a defensive season like the one I'm seeing from Matt Shaw. I mean, the plays that this kid is making, I mean, Brooks Robinson would be impressed with the way he's playing third base. His bat's quieted a little bit here, but what a defensive third baseman between him and then around the infield with Dansby, Nico, and Bush. I mean, that is probably the biggest strength that the Cubs have, is that infield defense. That kid is something special to watch defensively. Cubs need PCA and Kyle Tucker to be really, really good, superstars, if you will. And both of them were not in the lineup on Sunday. We give an update on them and an injury update on Daniel Palencia coming up next. This episode is brought to you by Monarch Money. Most people can't name all their financial accounts or even what they're worth, whether it's 401ks, properties, or investments. And when you don't have the full picture, you can end up leaving money on the table. That's why there is Monarch Money. It's an all-in-one personal finance tool that brings your entire financial life together in one clean, easy-to-use interface on your laptop or your phone. Monarch is built for people with busy lives. If you put off organizing your finances, Monarch is for you. Monarch does the heavy lifting for you. You can link all your accounts in minutes, see clear data visuals, get smart categorization of your spending, and finally feel in control of your money without ever touching a spreadsheet. You can identify that you aren't saving as much as you thought, like I identified, because all I do is spend money on food delivery services instead of driving the 7 minutes to go get the food. That stuff starts to add up. Maximizing investments, increasing your savings rate, easily reviewing finances with your partner and or advisor, keeping a clear review of your financial health week to week. So don't let financial opportunities slip through the cracks. Use code LOCKEDONMLB at monarchmoney.com in your browser for half off your first year. That's 50% off your first year at monarchmoney.com with code LOCKEDONMLB. We are back here on Locked On Cubs. Shout out to the everydayers, and you could become a Locked On Cubs everydayer by joining us for every episode throughout the week. All right, Pete Crow-Armstrong on Saturday followed a ball off of his kneecap. It looked painful watching it. It was a pitch that looked like it was about to hit him. And then he swung at it and hit it right off of his knee, tried to stay in the game, and then once he was running, he decided that it wasn't best to stay in the game, and he was probably going to hurt the team more than help them. The prognosis on him is good. It feels like he's day to day. Counsel said after the game on Sunday that we'll see where PCA's at before the game, potentially putting him in the lineup, which means he should be available. Sounds like it's 50-50 if he'll be in the lineup on Monday, but obviously getting close to returning. Just a bad bruise, a contusion on that kneecap, and hopefully won't impact PCA the rest of the way at all. As far as Tucker goes, Counsel said after the game on Sunday he won't be in the lineup on Monday, but he's getting close to being available, which means available to pinch hit off the bench. I continue to be mystified at how the Cubs handle these injuries. I mean, they could have just IL'd him. Brought up another guy, had Casey in there or Ballesteros or whatever. I mean, it's just a lot of time to just be playing a guy down. I know you have that extra guy because it's September, whatever. It's just weird to me the way they handle injuries. Hopefully Tucker's okay. It sounds like, again, it's day to day with him. I'm a little bit more concerned with his injury just because there's just a little bit of gray area. It feels like it. On Saturday, he wasn't getting any better, but he didn't get IL'd. And, just seems like, we know with Tucker with the hand injury, you just don't want him playing hurt. The last thing I want to hear is he comes back and he finishes the year not great. And we're like, yeah, well, the calf was really bothering him. You know what I mean? So just take care of it now, whatever it is that you need to do. As far as Palencia goes, he left the game with a shoulder injury. Counsel said docs looked at him and they're going to see where they're at in a day or two with that. So really a costly series for the Cubs this weekend. You knew you weren't going to have Tucker for a lot of it, then PCA, then Palencia. And with the way the offense is struggling, it just is magnified when you don't have arguably your two best players not in the lineup for those games. And, it brings the question up of, down the stretch here, and to be honest with you, when I planned out this segment, it was 3-1 Cubs, and I expected the Cubs to win. It's a little different now, losing 2 out of 3 from Washington, but you could still do the same point. What's more important down the stretch, right? Is it urgency to win as many games as you can and to make sure, the division is now officially a non-factor, but to make sure you get that home field advantage in the postseason, whether it's against the Mets or the Padres? Or is it more important to just rest guys here and there, give guys a few days? If you drop a game, if you drop home field, it's not the end of the world. The matchup isn't the end of the world. Just make sure you're at your best going into the postseason. I mean, it is a really fascinating debate, right? I mean, I personally want to see the Cubs play at home. That's under the assumption that their bullpen is going to be what their bullpen has been most of the year. Because I just think the Cubs have a home field advantage. I know it doesn't feel that way. They're 44-28 at home. They're 37-34 on the road. I mean, that's a pretty significant difference. I know their offense isn't great at home, but with the wind blowing in and their ability, they've played so many of these wind blowing in cold games that you just feel like, and who knows, you don't know what the wind's going to do. It was really cold on Friday and the wind was blowing out, but the expectation would be it's probably blowing in early October. And if it is, you just feel like the Cubs know to take that extra base. They know to steal. You have a fly ball pitcher in Shota that when the wind's howling in just becomes one of the toughest pitchers in baseball to face. I just like that better. And I would like to see them. I'd also like to see them finish the year strong. In order to do that, I would like to see them to get home field in the wild card. The standings right now looks like the the Padres are going to finish off the Rockies. So after that, the Cubs are going to be 3 games up on the Padres for that home field spot in the playoffs. They're 5 up on the Mets for the third wild card spot, and then in terms of just being up in a playoff spot, pending what happens right now in Arizona, the Cubs will either be 9 up on a playoff spot or 8.5 up. So, as much as I like to catastrophize, and as much as I am a little bit nervous about this series this week in Atlanta, which I'll talk about in a little bit, 8.5, 9-game lead here with 19 games to go. I mean, you'd like to see the Cubs. You'd like to say that the Cubs are still in a prime spot for a playoff spot, and then that just raises the question, matchup wise, what's better, or is it just, hey, let's make sure that we're at our best going into the postseason. It's frustrating though, because I mean, I really thought the Cubs were going to potentially sweep this series, let alone, not win it. And, you just look at it, it's just the same cycle. Like last 10, Cubs are 5-5. They sweep Anaheim. You feel really good about that. Then they get swept in San Fran. And then they go into Colorado. They win 2 out of 3. And then they win 2 out of 3 against Atlanta. Then they lose 2 out of 3 to the Nationals at home. It's just this trend. And I feel like, whether you want to rest guys or whatever you want to do, I just feel like before the playoffs, we've got to see a good long stretch of baseball from this team. Not, another 8-2 or just something to make you feel good. Now, the Rangers in 2023, they stumbled into the postseason and they won the World Series. So there is examples of not doing that, but it just feels like, let's call it like it is. You know what I mean? Since June 1, it just feels like this is a very average team. April and May, they were great. It's kind of like the inverse of the last couple of years. They had 2 awesome months, whereas the last couple of years they had 2 really bad months. And then the rest of the year they were, good, decent. And this year it's been 2 unbelievable months or 2 great months, and the rest of the year, July, August, and September, it's just kind of been an average team. And I would love to see them just turn that around and finish strong. And I don't think they're going to be able to do that without Pete Crow-Armstrong and Kyle Tucker. And so, hopefully those guys could get back soon And I personally would still like to see that wild card series played at Wrigley. I just think it's a boost that the team could need. And despite a really disappointing homestand, and despite their offense being worse, they have played better baseball at Wrigley Field than on the road. It was really supposed to be a fun weekend this weekend. You had the Nationals coming in, should be an easy series win. Didn't happen. You're honoring two Cubs legends, and it just didn't work out. But we're going to talk about those two guys and preview what I think is a little bit of a tricky series in Atlanta coming up next. This episode is brought to you by Zippix Toothpicks. Whether you're looking for nicotine satisfaction or an energy boost, Zippix has you covered with their nicotine and caffeine-infused toothpicks. For nicotine users, Zippix provides a discreet way to satisfy cravings in the hand-to-mouth habit without vaping or smoking. Zippix can be a helpful tool as you work to reduce your dependence on vaping. Available in 6 great flavors with 2 milligrams and 3 milligrams nicotine options. And if you need energy without the crash, their caffeine toothpicks are a game changer. I've used the caffeine toothpicks before big meetings and long drives. They give me energy without the jitters, and the flavors like peppermint watermelon ice actually taste great. Go to zippixtoothpicks.com, use code LOCKEDON for 10% off your first order. Must be 21 or older to order. Warning, nicotine is an addictive chemical. That's zippixtoothpicks.com, promo code LOCKEDON. Zip more, smoke less with Zippix Toothpicks. We are back here on Locked On Cubs. Make sure you are subscribed to Locked On Cubs. That way you don't miss any of the great Cubs content we've got for you. That includes the Cubs postcast with Joe George, who is a machine after every game, live after the final out. We also have an important request. Locked On wants to hear from you. We've put together a survey to learn more about our listeners and make your favorite podcast even better. This is your chance to tell us what you like, what you don't, and answer questions about our advertising. Go to lockedonpodcast.com/survey to get started. Everyone who completes a survey will be entered for a chance to win one of 10 $100 Amazon gift cards. Again, that's lockedonpodcast.com/survey. You can also find the link in this episode description. In my opinion, it's either this or at Cincinnati, the two toughest series left for the Cubs on paper. The probables right now are a little bit weird because you just don't know what teams are going to do, especially a non-contending team late in the season. But on paper right now, it looks like it's going to be Shota, Strider, Horton, Elder, and then TBD versus Sale. That's on paper. It might not be that. Right now, those are the probables that I just have. I know the Cubs announced their probables, and then off the ESPN probables, I'm checking MLB right now to see. Looks like MLB has Elder on Monday. Forgive me. So Imanaga versus Elder, and then Horton versus Strider. So I just had them flipped there, and then TBD versus Sale. So ESPN, MLB had them flipped. Whatever it is, same 3 guys. And those are 3 tough pitchers. I mean, Strider's not having a great year. Elder's not having a great year, but Strider could turn it on at any time. Elder just dominated the Cubs last week, and Chris Sale is one of the best in the business. You guys know how I feel about having to play a team 6 times in 9 days or whatever it is. I don't like that. And it's just tough. I think this is going to be a really tough series for the Cubs. I think if they win this series, it'd be a really nice accomplishment. The good news is that they beat the Braves 2 out of 3 last time, but Elder dominated them so much that it's really hard, I think, to dominate a team twice in a week. So hopefully they can get on him a little bit. And, the Sale matchup's going to be really tough, and hopefully they can get to Strider. Obviously, you have Cade and you have Shota going, so you like your chances there. But, it's an important series for the Cubs after dropping 2 out of 3 from the Nats. I really do. I know a lot of people's eyes are going to be on the Bears Monday night. I'm going to be locked in on this Cubs-Braves game, obviously, because I have to cover it, but also it's really important. And I really would like to see the Cubs bounce back and just get that sour taste out of their mouth from what was just a really, really tough weekend. Despite the tough weekend, it was really cool to see the Cubs honor Sammy Sosa and Derek Lee, 2 of the best Cubs hitters ever. I mean, when you really look at it, I didn't realize this. Derek Lee's OPS with the Cubs, I don't really have like a huge Derek Lee memory. Like specifically, I remember, when he got into that brawl with Chris Young of the Padres, That was a fun one. I just remember Derek Lee being really consistent and probably taking his production for granted when he was on the Cubs. But his OPS with the Cubs, 7 years, 903. He slashed 298, 378, 524 as a Chicago Cub. And then obviously had the famous season in 2005 where, as we talked about, he had 335 with 46 homers, 50 doubles, somehow finished third in the MVP voting. I know Pujols won it. I don't remember who finished second that year, but just an amazing hitter. And let me tell you, that guy still looks like he could hit. I mean, this guy doesn't age at all, Derek Lee. He looked like he was ready to go right center field, right in the basket if needed. And it was really cool to hear from him. And then obviously Sosa. I mean, we've talked about Sosa a ton on this show. He got his, got his honor and got into the Cubs Hall of Fame. We knew about that. And, the Sosa memories, of course, are endless. Wherever you're at on that, that's your opinion. You're entitled to it. I'm glad that got done. I got a chance to meet him almost a year ago. And it was really cool. Whether you're a Sosa guy or you're not, the one thing you can't argue is just what a massive personality, what a massive superstar he is. And it's cool that the Cubs acknowledge that and that's done. And it was cool to see. Look, I don't know. I keep waking up every morning when I go for my morning jog and I just think about this Cubs team. I'm just confused. It's such a weird season. I mean, I still think they're going to win 90 plus games. I still think they're firmly going to make the postseason. It's just been such a malaise for so long now that it's really taken a lot of the energy out of it. And then add in the fact that the division's unfortunately solved, and the wild card for the most part, it's probably going to be the Cubs, the Padres, and the Mets. We just don't know the order yet, so that's solved. So there's just not a whole lot of energy and excitement around this team right now, and it's tough. It's a weird situation, and I'm not just saying this because I'm covering it, because I basically have covered every Cubs season. I watch every game and then I talk about it for 30 minutes after with somebody. It's just now I do it in front of a camera. But I don't remember a season like this. I don't remember a season where the Cubs have won. I mean, think about it like this. They're most likely going to win more games that they did in 2003. And there was so much energy going into that year. They finished strong. They had that doubleheader sweep of the Pirates to clinch the division. And, this team's going to win more games than that team did. But it just feels like, you know what I mean? And we're just waiting for that spark, that energy. It felt like they got it for a little bit with Owen Casey when they in Milwaukee and then in Anaheim, and then Kyle Tucker got hot again. They need PCA back. They need Tucker back. And in these last 19, I'd love to see them, go 12-7. You know what I mean? At least get to 11-8. And, start playing better, because this was a bad series loss. You still got to go to Atlanta like we talked about. Tampa comes in. You should be able to win that one in Pittsburgh. But then you have 4 left at Cincy. That's tricky. The Mets come in here. This team has to at least get to 90 wins or I'll be really, really disappointed regardless of where they finish in the wild card. And then it's all going to come down to a 3-game series. Where's it going to be? We don't know. Who's it going to be against? We don't know, but they're going to have to find a way to win that in order to at least look at this season in a positive light. It's been a weird year. It continues to be a weird year, and this team, they need to get going. They need to get going again, and I've been saying that for a couple of months. This is Locked On Cubs, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. For your second listen, check out the all-new Locked On MLB Game Night. Every game, every night, all season long. Get local analysis on a national scale. Find MLB Game Night on the Locked On MLB channel on YouTube or wherever you listen to your podcast. Cubs got to get going for the 50th time, guys. We'll see you tomorrow night. Join us. Matt will probably be back. Cubs Bears right after the Bears game should be a fun night.